Welcome to the Healing Revolution podcast, where I challenge the status quo of conventional medicine and bring hope to those seeking a more natural path to health. I'm your host, Nicole Finn, functional nutrition counselor, nutritional kinesiology practitioner, and co-owner of Aspire Health and Nutrition here in Southeast Massachusetts, home to our natural health store and holistic clinic. We'll be diving into the power of personalized nutritional therapy programs, lifestyle adjustments, targeted supplementation, and a systems over symptoms approach to healing. This podcast is here to inspire you, educate you, and remind you that there is another way, because true healing doesn't come from covering symptoms, it comes from rebuilding the foundation. Welcome back to the Healing Revolution podcast. Today I'm joined with a very special guest, Linda Cleary. She's a physician assistant who has been working for the last 32 years in the realm of healthcare, trained originally in Western medicine and also integrative functional medicine. Her goal is to help people feel healthy, happy, and whole. Through her own health journey, which led her to seek out functional medicine, she wanted to look at deeper resolutions to help heal others and seek out root causes. She learned to look at the 5 aspects of what optimal health means. This includes the physical, emotional, psychosocial, biochemical, and spiritual layers of the human experience. When she works with patients, she respects their insights and takes the time to listen. She believes in each individual's own healing abilities and that sometimes it's just identifying those things that need to be restored in order to bring us back to our true, vibrant health. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. It's nice to see you.
Yes, thank you for being here. Before we really get into it, I do have to share. I tell pretty much everybody about you because a lot of people that come in the store and we start talking and they get to know me, they know that I've had Lyme in the past and it was pretty bad. But for everybody watching this, this is Linda, who was the one that sort of ran all those labs on me, and she was kind of the start of my Lyme journey.
Yes, I remember that. It seems like yesterday and so long ago, all at the same time.
Oh, it was crazy. I think that was 2017.
Yes, it was.
So, to dive in, you've had a very expansive career from surgery and family medicine to functional medicine and energy work. So, for you, what was the turning point that led you to blend science and the more intuitive and energetic side of healing?
I think it really culminated when I was working in urgent care. I had 11 years of family medicine, which I absolutely loved. And I got to work with babies all the way up until the elders. And then I felt like I had reached a cap and that there was more to learn. I loved my mentor. I had a fabulous mentor. But then I went into urgent care and I absolutely loved it. I worked with a great group of colleagues. But after the first few years, the unfortunately the practice became more. I don't know how to explain it, but it seemed like it was more big business took over. So there was just you were seeing people quicker and quicker. So on an average day, I could see up to I don't know 20 to 28 people in a day, and you had 4 people an hour sometimes, a lot of times. And so, anyways, what I was seeing was a lot of the people coming in. I would see them, I would be able to treat them and diagnose them, treat them, and I'm going to say, basically send them on their way. But they would come back almost, the same time frame a year later, months later with similar symptoms. So I was getting frustrated by that. And I felt like I wasn't having the time. These poor people were just literally being treated and treated, so to speak. Okay. And my heart was getting very heavy, I know internally, because at the same time I was practicing some energy medicine and I knew that there was more to healing, but I couldn't explain it at that particular time. I was seeking out some energy medicine, Reiki at that particular time. So it was probably a combination of me having my own health crisis, I would say, was the catalyst for this. And during that time frame, I became very ill and I had something called C. diff, which was a horrific gut infection. And they gave me the medication to treat it, and it definitely helped abate some of the symptoms. But nobody ever asked me, like, what was my life like at that point? What was I ingesting? What was I, the big picture. So the antibiotics worked to a degree, and then you come off them, and then guess what happens? They start to come back again. So this went on for a period of, I don't know, 4 to 5 weeks. And it was my mother-in-law at the time who said, Lynn, I have a naturopathic doctor, and I think he can help you. And at that time, she reached out to him and he gave me his treatment for it, which, funny enough, this is 2005, 2006. It was acidophilus. And at that particular time, now it's so much more common, but at that time it was unheard of. And that started to make a difference. And it put a light bulb in my head that said, there is more to healing than what I am doing here. And I became very frustrated. And then on my own, I started to figure out maybe the, 2 to 3 mocha coladas and the Snickers bar on the sly, weren't the best for me. Okay. But it took me to literally crashing and burning physically, that my own heart was like, what am I going to do with this? And I knew that there were things at that time called integrative and functional medicine. But I couldn't, I had 2 young babies. We had just built a beautiful home. I was in the, I was in the rat race of life, and I thought I was doing everything I could at that time, good provider, try to be the best mom, do all the PTA meetings. Is a very out of balance, but you don't know it when you're in it.
Right.
So I would say that was, when I look back, the pivotal moment that I can always go back to and say something has to change.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I remember a conversation that you and I had when I was going to see you at the Rothfeld Center.
Yes.
And you had said, because it's interesting that you were even open to, the naturopathic side of things as somebody who was trained in Western medicine, because it's not everybody's experience, especially mine, especially in a lot of people that come into the store,
Mm-hmm.
where they meet with their doctor and they're
Mm-hmm.
not open to this stuff at all. So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you were open to it because that conversation we had, you said that when you go through medical school, they sort of beat your intuition out of you.
Yes.
So you don't feel like you are open to the alternatives, because of your training.
I would 100%. And I've just had more of an epiphany of that experience recently
Mm.
through some other work that I've done. And one of the big things that really has come to light, Nicole, is that, we are instructed to not feel it. Okay. You just need to go in, do the medicine, give them the pill for the ill, and that's it, and send them on their way. Okay. So don't feel it, just heal it. Okay, that's the piece. That is so wrong.
Oh yeah.
That is so wrong. We are human, compassionate, connected beings, and I strongly feel that that kind of training cannot continue, at least in the way that we are going. It's not sustainable.
No.
Um, it's breaking people's soul. It broke mine.
Yeah.
Um, so if that helps, I would agree with you.
Yeah. I think so much of us typically lose that. We focus so much on the physical and we don't realize that the emotional and the spiritual are a huge part of it. Um, and it's, if one is off, as you know, the rest will be off. It's not just about fixing your diet or taking the supplements. If your mindset isn't right, if you're, you know, not connected with community, if you're just like working and going to bed, like, and you're just dysregulated, you're not going to heal. The supplements aren't going to fix dysregulation in that way. Emotional dysregulation, I should say.
100%. Agreed.
You mentioned the 5 layers of optimal health, which is the physical, emotional, psychosocial, biochemical, and spiritual. Can you unpack what that sort of looks like in your practice when working with a client?
Sure. So when I see a client, I do not have them now fill out, like a book of 12 pages. I like to meet with them. They fill out, 1 page, and then I sit with them and I listen to their story, because there is so much that person needs and wants to share. And my first mentor always said to me, if you just listen, they will tell you what is wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
So this, you have to take the time. My appointments now for a new patient are 90 minutes. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's not, going into Western medicine, you're lucky if you might get 7 to 15 minutes for your physical. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to take the time to listen. Okay. And the physical for me is the actual physical body, obviously. and the anatomy. The emotional is basically the emotions that might be coming out for a person. Obviously, we are all seeing a lot of anxiety and stress and depression currently. The psychosocial is all of the dynamics of what, like you said, what is their life like? What is their community? How were they raised? What was their upbringing? I get a lot of information hearing how somebody was raised, where they were raised, what their life was like. Did they move, 10 times, 15 times, or were they pretty stationary? There's a lot of information. What's their job? What are their stressors, whether it's goal, family, etc. Responsibilities, and at this generation, I'm now 59, and I'm seeing a lot of people that have, they're torn on both ends. They have children, and yet they have their parents are aging, and so they're really being pulled. So that's a big piece of it. The biochemical is the body's a way to utilize and metabolize nutrients and get them as the cell itself. ATP, mitochondrial health is key these days, and I can't talk enough about that. That's really woken me up on how to get that replenished. And all the supplements in the world, if they're not able to absorb them because they're in fight or flight and they're too stressed to digest them, they're wasting their money.
Right.
So there's the biochemical. And the spiritual is, what is their connection to, do they, and I don't mean they don't have to be necessarily believe in, I'm going to say the word God, because that's how I was raised. I was raised as a Catholic. And some people like the word great other dimension, but I just like to know that, do they have a belief that there's something greater than ourself? And I truly do. I have a lot of faith. I was raised with a wonderful grandmother. It's faith, family, friends in that order. And I was lucky, but not everybody has that. So the spiritual piece is how I like to kind of, tease that piece out. And not everybody's comfortable with sharing that. Some have none, and
Yeah. Even with my mom, some she works, she's a Christian life coach, so we are faith-based. So we say God all the time here, but it's not in a way that's like to turn people off. It's because there is
no,
something greater. And my
yes,
mom will ask the question to some people, do you have a spiritual life? Because like you said, you're listening to them and you hear them say certain things and you're like, not the supplements will definitely support you on that biochemical level, the physical level, but where you're coming in and you're talking about all these, spiritual issues, emotional issues, that question of do you have a spiritual life is super important because
yes.
it's not the religion, it's the relationship.
You give me again, there's the chills. It
Yeah.
is relationship, right? We are divine beings. I truly feel that in every part of my body. And I feel that, there's a combination of divine masculine and feminine.
Mm.
And so it's interesting. I may jump ahead a little bit, but to me, when I look at a person and I talk to them and they come in and they say, everything seems to hit me on the left side of the body, or everything seems to hit me on the right side of the body. And it's not because they had a stroke or there is a rewiring, don't get me wrong, but it's not because of a medical physical form. It is because on the left side of the body, it's the female side of the body. And on the right side of the body, it's the masculine side of the body. So if people say to me, oh, my right elbow hurts, or, oh, I had this right hip, or I, had pneumonia on my right lung, I am automatically keyed into the fact that there is some type of masculine disconnect. Something happened. They're grieving. I don't know what happened there necessarily, but I get that I need to pay attention here.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, it's wonderful. The body. So you must know the body keeps score, right?
Oh, of
There's
course. It
right.
gets stored in the tissues. That's a saying I say a
Yeah,
lot around here.
exactly, exactly. So our body is speaking, right? It wants to be heard. The body has a beautiful foundation to be able to heal itself. Like
Mhm.
I said, I say to people now, I'm a guide. That's all I am, but I will assist you on your journey.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah, my mentor actually, it's funny you say that you listen to them and they'll tell you what's wrong with them. My mentor, I don't know if he mentioned this in our last episode in the last episode where I interviewed him, but his father had trained him and he said, let your clients talk to you long enough and they'll tell you what's wrong with them. Let them talk to you a little bit more and they'll tell you how to fix them too.
Absolutely. Amen. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
true.
it.
It's
Yes.
letting them feel heard because I think a lot of the times in the Western medicine, it's like you said, it's just that pill for every ill. There's no root cause. They're masking the dysfunction instead of restoring the function. And the only real replacement parts for restoring function is nutrition, lifestyle, habits, spiritual life.
Yes.
That's been our experience.
I would 100%. That's been my experience. So it's interesting because I have literally found myself, at the Rothfeld Center, which I love the integrative approach. That really, honestly, I had stepped away at one point from being a PA completely because I was so disheartened with the way the system was going. And I just didn't see the light. And then thankfully, I was able to work at an integrative practice, Visions, which at that time, funny enough, I had put on a resume that I wanted to practice as a PA in the Western model, but wanted to practice Reiki as well, energy medicine. And in that particular time, I was able to do both. So it made me reignite that flame.
Wow.
And then, yeah, so that was a wonderful practice. Unfortunately, they dissolved, they went bankrupt. But the beautiful souls that I have, that we all were in that particular practice, we all stay connected. Every one of them is spreading the light that you glean from being together in that miracle of a time, which was, if you can imagine this, I was there from 2013 until 2015. So here we are 10 years later, Nicole.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Trying.
connected.
Yeah, exactly. So it's time. I think it had to get to this. COVID was a huge, huge wake up call for lots of people to look at, not to just to look at what wasn't working for them.
Right. There was a
Mhm.
huge shift, I think, that happened during COVID of, you know, people had to retreat. Like I hate to say it, I didn't love COVID because I didn't love what was happening in the world, but I did love that I had to slow down.
Yes,
Because especially when you deal with a chronic illness and you're forced to slow down, but the rest of the world is still moving. And then
yes,
now the whole world had to slow down. It was amazing. I don't know. I had there was a huge shift. I think it really opened a lot of wounds for people. It opened a lot of doors. It made people uncomfortable. Um,
yes.
because it wasn't just the COVID that was a problem. It was that spiritual aspect.
So can I share one more thing
Of course.
about this? So funny enough, for whatever reason, my life did not slow down during COVID. Rothfeld, as you know, the Plymouth branch was closing down. In
Mm,
2019, we were informed that that branch was gonna close down. And my colleague and I were from the South Shore, and we really wanted to take a big a leap of faith, and we felt that we could practice this kind of medicine on the South Shore. So she and I co-created a practice together, and we did it in 8 weeks. We literally opened Rothfeld closed February 5th, 2020. We opened our doors February 18th, 2020. And then the world closed March, I think it was 16th, 17th, somewhere around that. So three
yeah.
weeks later, right? So we actually ended up really seeing people, but I will call it like a safe haven, where they could come and get the information that wasn't being put on mainstream.
Mm,
Okay. Vitamin D is essential. Vitamin C, we were able to give them IVs and all of that. I'm so grateful for that time. I'm so grateful for the 6 women that I was able to be a part of. It was definitely divine. Listen, I mean, it was waves of awakening. That
yeah.
was the name of the practice. So, what I will tell you is that fast forward, we recognized that we needed to do a little bit more. So we eventually had to tell people weren't educated. We needed to educate them, meaning wanted to help them coach and get them better nutrition. So same as yourself, we walked them through this elimination type program. We personalized their service with whatever labs that were off for them, and we guided them with supplements and really helped to tease them out towards a 4 or 5 week program. And then we got them into a detox for 2 weeks. Okay. And we guided them. We were there for them together. But some people didn't detox well, meaning they struggled. They were a flare up of symptoms, all of this. And it became very clear that there was a missing piece. And that missing piece often was, I don't want to be married anymore. I don't want to be at my job anymore. So, what that did is it made me start doing my energy medicine again. My colleague asked me, Lynn, could you do that energy thing you do again? And sure enough, once we implemented that piece, it became a better path to help them to heal and recognize where some of their blockages might have been to get them better on that path. So before I left there, part of the reason was I was booked out like 5 months for the energy part of healing. And I realized that that's where the void was, and that's where my heart and soul wanted to go. So I am happy to say that's what, I took another jump, you leap off the bridge of faith, and I was guided to create Divine Wellness Connections, which is where I'm at now.
In Situate, Mass, right?
Situate, Mass. Actually, my practice is Divine Wellness Connections, but I actually share space with two other beautiful healers, and they are at Soul Bridge Healing Center. We all used to work together at the Lyman Pans Treatment Center. I feels like many moons ago, but we were meant to meet each other with the belief system that we now recognize. It is more than just a treatment. You can't just give an antibiotic. You can't just give one thing. It is multimodality to help people to heal. And I'm so grateful to work with these other beautiful souls because each of them has their own ability to help people to heal. Yeah. And one of them was ill herself, like yourself, with tick-related illness. And she went on to learn flower essence work. And I will tell you, Nicole, never was that even on my radar to help people, but it sure is now.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, huge.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. My mom and I pray over the business every day. And
Mhm.
she was praying over the products and just like, is there anything in here that we need to remove? Is there
Mhm.
anything in here that we need to bring in? And she
Yes.
said very clearly from the Lord,
Yes.
Bach flowers.
Yes.
So she's been looking into getting certified because my mom is really good at working on the spiritual piece. She doesn't
Yes.
give herself enough credit, but she's done a lot of work on herself.
Yeah.
And
She
so
has.
she feels like that's like another part of her journey is learning about the Bach flower essences. They really do make a huge difference. I thought that they were complete hogwash. I was like, that's BS. Those don't work. And then I was talking to a friend about confidence, believe it or not. This was like
Mhm.
2021 maybe, and I was really struggling with confidence and I was like, she was like talking about it. I'm like, so what do I do? What is my game plan? And she
Mhm.
said, well, to start, you might want to get the Bach flower essence large because that's for
Yeah.
confidence. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. So I go on Amazon, which I never would buy on Amazon now, but I go on Amazon and I get the large, and then I also got Star of Bethlehem, which is neutralized grief. I just felt like I needed to.
Yeah.
So I got the two of those and I started taking them. And the day that I started taking them, I went to work, didn't think anything of it. But then like things got busy and I just was so calm. I
Yes.
can't explain it. I just where I would have always had this little like feeling right here, I didn't have that day. And I
Yeah.
was like, hmm, that's weird. What's different? And then I remembered I had taken those. And
Yeah.
that was actually the day that I had realized that there was something deeper going on. So the Bach flowers really brought that out of me. And I've been on this journey ever since,
Yes.
just really trying to heal those inner wounds. And it's been really fun.
It sure has. It is a path I do foresee
Mhm.
picking a lot more pace. I think the plants and the flowers definitely want to work with us. They are to be remembered because they've been here.
Yeah.
They know, and my personal journey also working flower essences not only helped myself, but my husband, my daughter had the wisdom teeth taken out, and they sent her home on like the Motrin 800 and all that. The poor kid was up very early in the morning with couldn't sleep, pain, all that. My colleague said, "Here, why don't you give her a surgery blend and a little bit of arnica?" She took 2 doses. And I can still remember this. And the next morning, she slept till 10 a.m. And I was like, what? I don't need to know what's in them. I just know it's just so she's trained in that modality.
Mhm.
And I am going to tell you again, there is not a doubt in my mind that there is a huge benefit. Grief release, like you said, I think it was Star of Bethlehem, right?
Yeah.
So it just depends on the training piece of where, but they all are this. I mean, to me, I have no ego in this anymore. Like there is, you got to get that out.
Yeah.
So she trained with David Dalton. So we use a lot of the work, excuse me, the essences from him. And the workshop I'm going to be going to in September also is another group of flower essences. So I think the paths are really opening up and people are more looking for that kind of gentle. You know what it is? It's gentle.
Yeah, it's subtle. And it really does, and my from like my experience and just like with talking to people that have used them, it kind of like awakens you in a way that makes you realize, okay, there's definitely an imbalance here that's deeper than that physical.
Yes.
So
And
you just it's like it kind of brings like sometimes people have like an emotional detox from them too. And
yes,
I
yep,
think more and more people want them because more and more people are willing to do the inner work.
yes.
Do work.
You thank you. You are so right on the money.
Yeah.
People are willing to do the inner work. They're
Mhm.
ready. And the ones who aren't, they've got plenty of people to go see in the Western, medicine, and that's okay. That's
Mhm.
their journey. But
Yeah.
for the people now that we're seeing, and I know I can say this safely to you, is it's picked up. People are ready. There's many of us that have gone through a lot of our own harsh journeys and continuing to try to assist and facilitate. But I feel like we're on the precipice of such a great time,
Yeah.
and you just have to not look outside at the movie. That
Exactly. Oh, it's true. Turn off the news.
oh
I
god, that
honestly, we could have a whole conversation about just like the spiritual insight because, yeah, there's just so much to say. But like turning gears just a little bit, you've
sure.
worked with a lot of complex cases, I'm sure, in the last 32 years. Uh,
Oh,
what's one pattern or root cause? I know root cause is sort of a
mm.
buzzword these days, but there's many root causes as we find. But what's one pattern or kind of a root that you see a lot with people that people might not expect?
So the root cause I see almost always is the gut. Okay, so the gut health is sadly not just the stomach and the alimentary canal and meant to digest foods. Okay, it stores so much more. So the gut is the place that houses, on the physical plane, it literally is what helps us to stay alive, right? We're the plant, if you think of it that way. And what we ingest and put into our body is meant to feed it, nourish it, and hopefully keep it growing and thriving. Okay. But the problem has been, and I'm sure this isn't a shock, the biggest health issue we have going on are toxins. And so toxins come in all different sizes, right? They can come in the food that we're eating currently. It might be coming in other forms, people that come into our life. It might be coming in an injection. It might be coming through the air. There's lots of different reasons for that. But the gut stores a lot of this. And so I really work when people talk to me, I listen to where their issues are. When I would tell you 99% of the people I meet have some type of digestive disorder. And those that say, no, my gut is fine, more often than not, they have SIBO because they've been so stressed and they say, oh, no, my gut's fine. It's some, I should say, are very, very healthy and already awake and doing so much. But the gut is the biggest piece. I also look at it as the core. So if we look at the energy centers of the body, think about that. You're dealing with the solar, the sacral, the root chakras. So you need to, like, when I pull it together and I look at where does the body hurt. For females, we store a lot of ailments and trauma, sadly, in the sacral, area,
Mhm.
and that's because feminine, divine feminine, really has not been heard.
Yeah.
So lots of people struggle, with issues in that region, and then you have to kind of open up on the that's where the foundation comes, the root. How did you grow up? What was life like? I've been divorced. There's so many, oh my gosh, the stories I've heard.
I
Everyone says
remember those. Yeah, I remember those conversations we would have at the Roosevelt Center about some of that stuff. Yeah, that makes total sense.
yes, because I'm trying to figure out what's going on in a person. And it's really, for me, it helps to connect different dots. I
Mhm.
don't even fully know that I do that. I think it's automatic now, but it's just because I'm being, I just trust my intuition a lot more,
Mhm.
which I think is fantastic. Years ago, I was told not to by a doc that, you know, at that particular time, they weren't ready for this. Let's put it that way. And I think ego drove that part of that conversation. But I do feel now we are so ready for that. So I would say for me, it would be the gut and that it stores so many things. And I already talked to you about the side to side difference
Yeah.
because that's huge.
Yeah.
So if you can find people in your world, if you can even think about it, that don't have some type of issue in that part of their body, please let me know. I sit here right now and I'm going to tell you that I've had my gallbladder has been taken out. I've had an ERCP, which is a stent to keep the common bile duct open. My appendix is gone. I've had a C-section.
Oh,
Uh,
geez.
so I sit here now and I tell people, I don't want you to end up with a map on your belly. I'm trying to prevent you from having some of these things.
Yeah, because we don't have a scalpel deficiency, contrary to popular belief in the medical industry. That's what we've been taught.
Absolutely.
Well, that's amazing though. And like you said with the gut, there's obviously that mind-body connection too, because you have that vagus nerve that runs from your brain to your gut. It's constantly sending signals. So if you're stressed, your gut's going to be a mess, even if you're not having gut issues.
Yes.
At least you don't think you are.
Bingo. I love this. If you're stressed, you don't digest. Period.
Period.
Yep. The end. You don't need to
Yeah.
go any further than that. Okay. And the other part that's pretty cool is energy centers. Like sometimes I see colors. Okay. So energy centers, the root itself is red, the sacral is orange, and the solar plexus, which is where like the pancreas and the liver and everything sits, that's more yellow. So sometimes I will literally be guided to tell people you need to eat more yellow foods. You need to, and I believe that comes from Deanna Minnick, who is another doc I have trained with. So there's some beautiful mentors out there. I was lucky enough to train with Dr. Mona Lisa Schultz, and she's passed a year ago, sadly, but she literally was the person who I did medical intuitive training with. And I am so grateful now to have been in her class. It's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it was
amazing.
a game changer.
So, like, kind of on to your point, as someone that's trained in both that medical format as well as the energy healing, how do you personally tune into that deeper layer of insight when you're working with somebody? Is it just kind of your own?
That's, I would tell you it's a common, the listening is big. That's the key. You have to listen and you have to come from your heart.
Mm,
So let's put it this way. I can very clearly tell if someone who is, I'm very lucky now. Everyone who sees me is word of mouth. So I'm fortunate because most people are going to know already that I have gifts in both spaces. So I don't have to quote unquote hide it as much or hide these things, but I can tell if somebody's walled off. Let's put it that way. So I kind of go gently with them. I'm not going to maybe tap into some of their spiritual things right away. I'm going to try to help them and meet them, but I might just probe it a little bit. So when I examine them, my hands heat up on certain parts. So that has been newer. And I think that's because the space I'm in is what I call safe now. I'm not being controlled by anyone telling me to shut down my gifts because it threatens them. Or my boss is the divine, same as yours. And so I trust in that. And there's a clarity. And I'm going to tell you that we are entering, well, we've now in a phase of we are electric energetic beings. So we give off signals, right?
hmm
So the best way I explain this is to people is you have a cell phone. If I'm in Hawaii and you're here and I call you, you're going to be able to get that call. Yes. I said, do you see a cord that connects us? They're like, no. I go, but you trust that, right? And they said, give you another example. You go into a bank or store, you walk by somebody and you're like, oof, I'm not going down that aisle. I don't like the feel, or I don't. And you pivot and you turn, but you don't have a reason for why that is, correct?
hmm
Meaning that you can tangibly describe. You just do that for people who
Right.
are born torn. That's your electric, energetic. So the physical body is here, but my gosh, we have this beautiful bioenergetic body that expands so far that we are really just starting to become reacquainted with.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a big piece of now how I work.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, it's so true. People that don't believe in energy, but it's like you just turned on your TV with a remote that's not connected to your, do you know what I mean? Like to your TV. It's just, how do you not believe in it? That's a frequency, is it not?
Exactly, exactly. When you just said turn on the remote, what I want to say to them is turn on the remote to your own heart and your own inner wants.
hmm
They've not been allowed to do that,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's a big piece of this, but I love it because, I have to do the medical part, right? We have to see what needs to be restored. So I'm not just doing energy piece. I love to have the backup behind it. So often I will intuitively give them a healing plan of what their body might need. And then if they haven't had lab tests done by their PCP, primary care provider, I will often do those. And sadly, nowadays, they won't do things like vitamin Ds and et cetera. I can, so I do those.
Right.
We have lots of different alternative tests in functional integrative medicine that we're also able to look at, which help us to look at the gut if necessary through stool or urine testing or breath testing and things like that. So I do combine it with the science if necessary as well.
Right.
If people can't afford that, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is I'll often say, let's start with these things, and we'll meet in 4 to 6 weeks. And if you're not feeling better, we have the option to go forward and do those tests.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Mhm.
that. That's amazing. It's very encompassing. I think there's a lot of conversation that we wish that, the Western and the Eastern could combine itself, but I
Uh,
think that they don't overlap well sometimes. But I
yes.
think in this case, it definitely can. And, the energy piece, it's huge. I mean, that's essentially what muscle testing is. I know you and I have talked a
Mhm.
lot about muscle testing.
Yes.
Um, there's ways to test for those things on the body as well if labs aren't, available to some people.
What? There are so many. We are so lucky. That's why I'm trying to say
Mm.
we are on the greatest precipice of healing,
Yeah, we are.
right? Louise Hay passed away, but wrote
She did?
oh, yes, yes, Louise Hay passed away, but she wrote that beautiful book.
When did
Uh,
she pass away?
oh
Was this a
gosh.
while ago?
Yes, it was a while ago.
Oh, well, I don't
Yes.
know where I've been.
You know what? Same spot we've all been, kind of in different spaces, right? But she
Yeah.
did passed away. And um, I think she wrote the book One Can Heal Thyself, and it's a great tool for a lot of patients, oh, excuse me, clients, I like to say better. Now is, if they want that, I guide them to that. I'm like, because look, here's your symptom, whether it's, my right elbow or uh, jaw pain or gut pain. And I'm like, and here's the likely root cause. She wrote that book so long ago, but
Mm,
it was not out there the way that we are seeing these things get out there now.
yeah.
And I think a lot of the docs that I follow are recognizing that they have got to incorporate, you know, this other piece. I was affected by mold and environmental illness, and I've come to realize that environmental toxins are a big holder for a lot of disease. Okay, and if you don't address that root cause of what the picture is that person might be in, and it's not widely accepted or even thought about, they think you're a quack when you talk about it. But I physically, and my husband, had to go through that, and it disrupted every single part of the body, hormonally, gut, brain, all of it. So when you look at you have to pull all of it together. There's not, I really strongly feel that it's important to do those things. And I think my journey has taken me through all of these things
Yeah.
so that I could know that this was out there.
Yeah. Create that fully encompassing care for your clients.
Yes.
That's awesome. Had to experience it all to get there.
Oh, that has not been a fun journey. I will tell you that, but I definitely I've
Rewarding
learned,
one.
yeah, I've learned a lot. And I will say to you, I think we're going to continue to keep learning and learning. And I do, in my world, it's gotten simpler. Like the body doesn't need as much once you identify and you give the body what it needs. Remove them from the toxic situation, whether that be mold or whatever it is, and give them what the body needs to heal, and be gentle,
Oh, yeah.
right? Be gentle. Just because you've been ill for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, don't think that you're going to get better in a week, 2 weeks. That's the difference between Western and, well, really, sorry, I shouldn't say that, because what that is just a band-aid. Sorry. So,
It's a
um,
process, not an event. I tell people that all the time. They're like, when am I going to feel a difference? One healing cycle is 90 days. Most people need at least 3 or 4 before they even get stable. And then they need another few in order to get well.
exactly. If you think about, so when you say 90 days, Nicole, the red blood cell takes 90 days
Mm,
in the body. So
yep.
you're 100% right. If that's our oxygen carrier and all of it, boom, there you see. Yep, makes
Yeah.
sense.
So they gotta give you time and they gotta give themselves time because you're, like you said, you're just the guide. The health they have is the health they built. Dan
Yeah.
said that in our last podcast, and I've been repeating it to people because it's true. It's not
Yes.
on us to get people well. We're the guide. We tell them what to do, and then they embrace it. And however they decide to embrace it, that's the level of
Yep.
of
Let it go.
humanity. Exactly.
Letting it go.
Yeah. Okay, wrapping up a little bit. I have one last question for you.
Okay.
So for someone listening who's been to a doctor or, just several doctors and still doesn't feel heard or they don't feel like they are well, what would you want them to know about the real path to restoration?
That your body has the most beautiful innate ability to heal given the right guidance and tools. And if your intuition says that there is something more going on with your body and you're not being heard, you find that person, that provider, that healer, that and I am not getting caught on names. I don't care if you've got MD, NPDO. You need to find that right person. I've met some of the most amazing health coaches. I've met some of the most brilliant dietitians, nutritionists. I have met the practitioners. You need to search out until it feels right. Don't stop at Western medicine. I love it. If you need surgery, you need to have a broken bone or something like that fixed, it is the best place we have. We are very fortunate to have that. But you have got to listen to your innate ability. Your body is trying to talk to you. And, think about it even from a food choice, what you're putting in your body. If you're eating something and your body gets heartburn, your body's trying to say, my body does, I don't like this. This isn't good for me.
Mhm.
But instead of taking a pill to suppress it, like Prilosec or Nexium, it's doing more harm than good at that point. And so you have a choice. You can take the pill or you can keep seeking out because you know innately what is wrong with you. And I mean that in every part of my being.
I like that. It's like looking at your symptoms as signals.
Yes, they are. They are. The body is like a big beacon of like these simple, and maybe that's part of what I see when I sit with somebody is
Mhm.
like, I need attention. I need attention. I will tell you hand wise, when I examine, my hands will definitely heat up on spots. I'm like, this is where the problem is. I'm fortunate. I can feel that. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I'm able to guide them. Like some of my people who've been ill, we do our work and all of a sudden I'll feel like their back or their spine is off and I'm like, you need to go see a chiropractor. You need to go see a DO, right? It's not one thing. It's all encompassing. And for me personally, this is just my belief system, is the one doctor for me that I have not skimped on is I have a beautiful chiropractor, dry needler that I go to faithfully every 4 to 5 weeks, if necessary, more than that. But that is the one person that I will not give up because the body, and this was the best analogy I can tell you about this, and it makes such sense. So think about your brain, your skull, and your spine. It is surrounded by spinal fluid and it runs up and down beautifully. Okay. But if we are stressed, kinked, off kilter, it's like the garden hose that gets kinked up, right? Now it's not flowing. Now it's sending a signal to that part of the body. Now I have shoulder pain. Now I have, elbow pain. And the brain is not getting bathed the way that it needs to. So, why I tell you this story is I had TMJ. I broke 4 teeth in 2017. I was in a big, stressful part of my life with lots of things happening at the same time. And I knew it wasn't a dentist that I needed to see. It didn't feel right. So I was guided to a beautiful chiropractor, and she did some work on me. And once she shared with me that the TMG, the temporal mandibular joint, when it is locked up, sends more signals to the brain that you are on fight or flight. She said more than you have more receptors there than in the bottom of your feet. It made
Wow.
boom. Now I knew on my brain would always be go, 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 go. Once she did that, it was like somebody gave me Valium. So it was big wake up. So that's why I share that story.
Yeah, it's like your maintenance, your tune-ups, your
Yeah, this is our car, right?
yeah.
We got to keep the car moving.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. That's actually a funny that you mentioned that because I'm not good with cars at all, but I use like car analogies a lot. So like talk about symptoms as signals. It's not that you need to, take a pill for that symptom. You need to read that signal and, maybe remove that food or,
Mhm,
lessen
mhm.
your stress. So like when it comes to pain, I always attribute it to a car where, on the dashboard, like all the little lights will pop up, like the
Ah,
check engine light. It's
yes.
kind of sort of like one of those like the check engine light.
Yes.
It's just telling you that there's something wrong with the systems because, like a car, if your engine's not working or your transmission or
Mhm.
whatever it is, eventually the rest of the systems in the car are gonna,
Yeah, it's like a domino effect. It's just
yeah,
gonna break it down until you look at where's the root that
exactly.
yes.
And
And
that's
once
the same thing with the body.
yes, yes, boom. That's it. See, this is it. This is the see how easy that is?
Exactly. And that's that too, like, with the energy work and that whole piece is that, I tell my clients that they're the smartest doctor that comes to
Yes.
me because
Mhm.
they're coming with the problem, but they're also coming with the solution.
Yes, they are. Beautiful, Nicole. You are so right.
Yeah.
And this kind of medicine will continue, I pray, will continue to evolve and evolve. There are so many more, I'm going to call them just beautiful light beings that just want to come out and help others, right? We want to feel good and we're getting there. I mean, we are so much better than we were,
Oh yeah.
so much better. And I think the next 2 years after this, we are going to integrate a lot of what this we're in for, still a little bit of roughness, not bad, but a little bit of roughness, but
People are way more open now than they ever have been, I think.
yeah, exactly. I would agree with you, and as long as we keep, I feel, our heart and soul on, faith, that we will have that ability to keep moving forward.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, this was such a beautiful conversation. Thank you again for being here and for being a part of the healing revolution.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you, and you look fantastic. So happy.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good. Take care.